Hi again, this is Jason from Activate Ed, and this is the third of our video podcasts for the year. Today we're talking about promotion of physical activity, and in particular we're talking about the social ecological model. So it's understood that there are several levels of influence on any individual's behaviour, and it's really important that those levels of influence are addressed when we're implementing strategies for increasing involvement in physical activity. The social ecological model gives us a really nice framework for addressing those multiple levels of influence, and they outline those levels of influence as being individual, the social environment or the interpersonal environment, the physical environment or the policies. If we look at the individual level, these typically are strategies that result in changes to individuals' knowledge or beliefs and values with regard to physical activity. And they include anything that improves understanding of the benefits of physical activity, anything that improves the understandings of the risks of inactivity, increasing people's knowledge of where they can be active and how they can become involved in physical activity, and anything that might assist to overcome demographic barriers like socioeconomic status, someone's gender, their cultural background, etc. So we might be talking about, placing a sign that encourages people to take the stairs. Or we might be talking about something like the National Physical Activity Guidelines that outlines for people why physical activity is important and how much they should be doing. Or we might be talking about counselling, which could come from a range of sources like a PE teacher, your doctor, a physio, or in this case, a personal trainer. The social environment includes strategies that affect the social climate in which an individual exists. So we're talking about the influence that friends, family, workmates, etc. have over us. So we're talking about things like providing social support by being active with another individual, being active as a family, anything that encourages people to be active together in groups or in pairs, or even social marketing campaigns through things like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. So here's a family being active together. And what we know is that active parents are more likely to have active children. They role model physical activities being a normal part of people's daily lives, and so children are likely to continue with that pattern. Here's a team, people doing something together. This looks like Tough Mudder. Doing something together is always a lot more fun, and it's easier to get motivated when you're doing something together for a whole range of reasons. But generally it gives us another reason to be there other than just the physical activity in of itself. And then we're looking at social media. So there's lots and lots of ways to promote to lots and lots of people or get people together through social media. If we look at the physical environment, these are strategies that create a physical environment that makes physical activity more likely or more possible. So it might mean creation of new facilities or construction of infrastructure where physical activity can take place, the removal of barriers to physical activity, so physical barriers, provision of open spaces so that people are more likely to be active, facilities that stop physical activity being an inconvenience, so things like shade sails or drink taps, etc., and providing age-specific facilities. So, bike share programs like the one we have in Melbourne and in lots of major cities around the world now are a really fantastic way of promoting physical activity. Putting in place traffic calming, speed humps, etc. to slow down cars. Lots of traffic is a barrier to physical activity, so if we can slow it down or remove some of it, people are more likely to go out and be active. Drink taps. The accessibility of drink taps is really important. If you've got to go a long way to get a drink, then maybe you won't be active in that space. And age-specific facilities. So increasingly now, local councils are putting in place a range of facilities in parks. So there might be little fitness circuits, a play for adults, a playground for young children, and a skate park for adolescents. If we look at policies, they're rules, regulations, guidelines that encourage involvement in physical activity or remove impediments. It's really important to understand that with one or two exceptions, we can't actually force people to be active, but we can put in place policies that incentivise activity or make it more likely that people will engage in it. Examples are, we're talking about laws enforced by government, like mandated phys ed in schools, informal rules in settings such as schools and workplaces, and urban planning policies that provide for parks and open space. So, here's a 40 kilometre an hour speed zone around schools. That's a policy, and slows down the traffic, so perhaps it's safer for children to walk or ride to school. When we're applying the social ecological model, there's a couple of ways we can do it. And the one way to do it is to think about settings. And so if we think about settings, we can usually come up with a range of strategies that could be utilised in that setting from each of the 4 levels of the model. So if we start off looking at a community and look at some individual strategies, we could do information pamphlets in public rec centres or in doctors' surgeries, etc. We could do letterbox drops, counselling from doctors or personal trainers at public rec centres, etc., or advertisements in local newspapers. Social environment strategies include things like community walking groups, social marketing campaigns, bring a friend days at local rec centres, or group training sessions at public rec centres. Physical environment strategies, we can construct bike paths that link residential areas with workplaces, and that's really critical because it encourages active transport. Installation of wayfinding signage on bike paths, construction of public recreation facilities, construction of age-specific play equipment, town planning to include open space, construction of lockable bike sheds at train stations. There's a bike centre in the city of Melbourne, so if you ride to work and there's nowhere to park your bike at work, there's a public space where you can go and park your bike and have a shower. You can get your bike serviced during the day. These are all physical environment strategies. And then if we look at policies, 40 kilometre hour speed zones in school areas, 50 kilometres an hour in residential streets, and town planning laws that require a certain amount of open space in any new housing development are really critical in providing space for physical activity to happen. If we have a look at school settings, individual strategies include things like flyers on notice boards informing of opportunities to be active, notices in the daily bulletin, teaching about the National Physical Activity Guidelines in PE lessons, emails to students. Most schools now have a global email system, so you can email students, staff, everyone, speakers at assemblies. Social environment strategies include things like school team sport, house sporting events, lunchtime team and partner activities, teachers role modelling through active yard duty, activities run by student leaders, staff versus student games. There's lots and lots. Physical environment strategies include things like installing secure bike storage, traffic calming in school areas, providing wall and line marking in outside spaces, providing access to indoor facilities at lunchtimes, putting shade over play areas or drink taps near play areas. Policies that are implemented in schools include mandated PE and sport in schools. So in Victoria at the moment we have a mandate of 100 minutes of phys ed and sport for every student up to year 10. Compulsory uniform for comfortable physical activity. Designated play areas for age groups are often seen in primary schools where you might have a playground for senior primary, a different one for middle, a different one for junior and a separate one for preps. And that's so that they can all be safe and also so that the equipment can be more age specific and appropriate. Providing equipment monitors for borrowing gear at lunchtimes, borrowing footballs, cricket bats, netballs, soccer balls, etc. If we skip into the workplace, individual strategies include things like circulating information through inter-office emails, posters that encourage stair use, speakers at staff meetings, free workplace health checks, and office newsletters. They're all really important ways of getting the information out there about why physical activity is important and where and how they can become more active. Social environment strategies, and there's lots of these. Lunchtime walking groups, active meetings, casual clothes day to encourage more movement, ride to work day, walk to work day, workplace teams in local competitions, group training at lunchtime with a personal trainer, corporate triathlons, etc. Anything that gets people together being active in groups. Physical environment strategies in the workplace, installing bike storage, showers and change rooms, signs detailing the benefits of stair use, improving the aesthetics of stairwells to make them more appealing, less dark and grey and cold, Installing a gym within some offices has been a really useful tool for increasing the level of physical activity. And then policies might include subsidising memberships. So an employer might say, well, if you take up a membership, we'll pay a certain percentage of it, because they know that people who are physically active are more productive and have less sick leave. Incentives for those who use active transport. So that might be free lunches, it might be longer lunches, it might be early knockoffs, etc. Allow for flexi time, late starts, early finishes, long lunches that allow people to work out or exercise in the morning, afternoon, or at lunchtime. It's really important to understand that the more levels of the model that we address in any intervention program, the more likely that intervention is to be successful. So whether you're implementing strategies or whether you're evaluating an existing strategy, it's really important to look for strategies that will act across all 4 levels of the model. So implement at least one strategy from the individual level, at least one from the social environment level, one from the physical environment level, and at least one from the policy level. And you should be looking for those in any evaluation of an existing program as well. Stay tuned for more podcasts. Have a look at our activateedvce.com website and check out the Facebook page and YouTube channel. See ya.